Good morning, everyone. Welcome to String and Story. My name is HollyAnne and it's my job to guide you to quilt with confidence. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's the official week 1 of Quilt Your Own Adventure. I have spent the summer piecing this really big quilt as part of the Motivate Shop Camp Otome Quilt Along, and I'm going to be quilting it with you over the next 6 weeks or so. We're going to work our way out round by round. And today we are starting in the center with this big old medallion star. And I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But first, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. I need to share this video over to the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group, which means there's 2 things you can do for me. While I'm sharing this over here, if you have not joined the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group yet, there's a link in the caption of this video. We would love to have you. It's for all quilters of all ages, stages, skill levels, interests. Everybody is welcome. Make sure you answer those 2 questions as you're jumping into the group. It'll ask you if you've registered for Intro to Free Motion Quilting, one of my free online classes. And then it'll also ask you what you're hoping to learn in the next year. And that just helps me know that you are not a robot. So if you have not joined Quilting Rockstars, go request to join right now. And if you're excited about Quilt Your Own Adventure and you're excited about finishing your own quilts and learning more about how to decide on quilting plans and how to free motion quilt, go ahead and click share on this video so that your friends will see it too, because we all have quilting friends who are also wanting to learn this stuff, right? Okay, let me hop over here and do my sharing real quick, and then we can continue on. Technology. Oh, good morning, everybody. Gina, Brandy, Terry, Lori. I know there's a couple more of you guys. Thank you who already hit share. I can't see who it is at the moment. I will see all of your names momentarily. Let me also make sure I'm muted. I always have to do that. Say hi down in the comments as you are hopping on. Make sure you've joined Quilting Rockstars. Make sure you're hitting share. Hi, Susan. Hi, Katie. Hi, Sam. Hi, Bryce. Okay, so, oh, there was something I was going to tell you guys, and now I totally forgot. Oh, yes. Okay, so the next thing, now that we've joined Quilting Rockstars and we've hit share, thank you, everybody. The next thing is there's a question of the week in the caption of this video. This week I want to know, what is your biggest roadblock to knowing what to quilt where? And I'm giving away a free copy of my ebook, Anxious to Adventurous, 10 Weeks to Fabulous Free Motion Quilting. And this ebook is a great companion if you are taking Intro to Free Motion Quilting, my free online class. There's a link to that in the caption as well. And you're just kind of wanting to see what the possibilities are, right? You know, I offer online classes, and I really think that watching videos is the best way to learn free motion quilting, other than maybe being in the room with a teacher, right? But an ebook gives you an opportunity to just dabble and play, start getting some ideas sparking, and it also gives you a great visual reference. So even if you've taken all of my classes, Anxious to Adventures is a great visual reference of, I think it's about 20 motifs contained in that book. It's a $10 ebook. And it just gives you a great visual guide to inspire you that you can flip through. I guess you'd be flipping through it on a screen, but you know what I mean, for inspiration. So I'm giving away a copy of that this week, so make sure you answer the question down in the comments. And as I see those things come in that are roadblocks for you, I'm going to try to talk about some of those things today, because we're going to talk a lot about quilting plans today as we're getting started on this quilt. Many of you I know are already part of Quilting Rockstars, and we're working on quilting our Lanterns of Hope quilt over there. And there we've got a really heavy emphasis on how do I tackle a big quilt on a small machine, and that's our big focus. And we're going to talk about some of that on Thursdays, but on Thursdays we're also going to be talking through quilting plans and how to emphasize and de-emphasize different parts of a quilt. And this is part of celebrating the upcoming relaunch of my class, How to Make a Quilting Plan. So that'll hopefully be out next week. But in the meanwhile, I know that it's such a big topic that there's a lot that we can do here to just get you guys starting to think about how you might want to quilt your own quilts. Okay, let's see. Let me greet everybody here. Winifred, Mary, Debbie, Lori, Terry, Gina, Brandy, Katie, Susan, Bryce, Sam, Veronica, Bryce again. Oh, glad Monty's on his way home. Yes, I'll share about Monty in a minute. Thanks for reminding me. Susan, Bryce, you're so sweet. Deborah, Susan again. Oh my gosh, you are so sweet. Hi, Tiny. I don't think I know you. Are you new, Tiny? I don't recognize your name. Great to have you. Brandy, you're trying to figure out how to quilt without taking away from piecing. Yeah, that's always a balancing act for me. That's a great thing to talk about. Do I use cheap fabric to practice on? Okay, I'll talk about that too. That's a good question. Okay, let's tackle a couple of these things. Let's see, let me check my caption too to make sure I hit everything. So answer the question of the week. If your name is Tamara Badalamenti, you were last week's winner. Congratulations, Tamara. You want a copy of my Lanterns of Hope quilt pattern, so if you will DM me here on Facebook, direct message, or email me at stringofthestory@gmail.com, I can get that over to you. So make sure you answer that question of the week. There's a link to this week's blog. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the Moda Bake Shop Quilt Along, and some of you are new here because you saw my post over in the Moda Bake Shop group, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is so exciting. You know that there were 2 paths each week for the Moda Bake Shop Quilt Along. Now, this whole series of Quilt Your Own Adventure is all about quilting traditional blocks, but the traditional blocks that we're focusing on are the ones that were part of the Moda Bake Shop Quilt Along, because that's the quilt that I'm using as a demo quilt, right? But these principles and these quilting plans can inspire you. They're, of course, free for you to use across any traditional quilt. This is all just about ideas and inspiration and dialogue, right? But for those of you who did piece the Moda Bake Shop quilt, I am drawing quilting plans for both paths each week. So if you're here and you're like, this is great, HollyAnne, but you did the star and I did the Dresden plate, now what? Well, I'm not going to be demoing how to quilt the Dresden plate here because I didn't piece it. But there are several drawn quilting plans for you over on the blog. So there's a link to that in the caption of this video as well. And if you have questions, you're welcome to go over there and look at it and then jump back over here in the comments and be like, okay, I'm looking at the Dresden plate plan, but I'm confused. Like, I can answer all the questions, okay? I just wasn't gonna make this quilt twice. Sorry, guys. As like, maybe cool as that would be, it would also be like next level crazy. And I'm kind of next level crazy, but maybe not that next level. So anyway, all that to say, I'm providing quilting plan options for those of you who chose different paths than I did. But I'll be demoing here what I'm doing on the paths that I chose. There you go. Okay. Quilting Rockstars Facebook group. Many of you last week, I asked what free motion motif you want to learn. And many of you want to learn feathers, which is really exciting because I drew a lot of feathers on the quilting plans this week. But I do have a free tutorial on my blog that'll give you this much information about feathers. It's not a whole lot, but it's enough that you could get started. You could start drawing, you could start practicing, and it might just click for you and you may be off to the races. But even if it doesn't totally click, it'll kind of get you started. Feathers are something I teach a little bit more in depth in my Rockstar status class that will be available again starting probably middle of the Anyway, that will be available mid-September. We'll be relaunching Rockstar status. But in the meanwhile, for those of you who are wanting to dip your toes in, or those of you who are finding that free motion quilting comes pretty naturally to you, or the drawing side of it does, or you really are just desperate to try feathers, there is a tutorial on my blog with a video of me drawing some feathers. And there's a link to that in the caption of this video. I went ahead and put a link because for those of you who are like, I really want feathers, there you go. So you might try some feathers on your quilt this week, right? And then links to the classes. Intro to Free Motion Quilting, which is my free class, and Beginner Free Motion Quilting, which is one of my paid classes. And as I mentioned, How to Make a Quilting Plan will be launching hopefully next week. Hopefully in time for this video. All right, let me see what you guys are chatting about down here. And then I'm going to start answering some of these questions, and then we will start the process of beginning this quilt. Tiny, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Yes, Marianne. Okay, for those of you who have been around, you know that this week's been crazy. So let me give just a quick little personal update for y'all. If you're new here, you'll know that I kind of do this. I just kind of loop you guys in on stuff that's going on. Jim, if you were watching the Summer Social Hour Friday night, Jim was real sick. Jim got strep throat. We did find out Saturday morning it was strep, though neither of my boys ever had any redness or anything in their throats. There were no visible signs that it was strep. It was just positive strep tests. Jim ran a really high fever Friday night. Hey, Lily, I haven't seen you around these parts for a while. Jim ran a really high fever. We got him to the doctor Saturday, got him started on meds. He started feeling better Sunday. Sunday, Ian started running a low fever, but his strep test at CVS came back negative. He still had a low fever Monday morning, so I went to the doctor and I really pushed for another strep test, which they were a little bit like reticent about. But it's back to school here, so they were like crazy, and they're like, you already had a negative strep. Anyway, but I really put my foot down. I was like, I want another test, and I'm so glad that I did, because it was a positive strep test Monday morning, and Monday afternoon he was running 104-degree fever. Which, if we didn't know it was strep, would have sent us straight to the hospital, quite frankly. Like, it would have just been like, we don't know what's going on, we're going to the emergency room. Especially because he did have a little bit of a rash, and for those of you who are really familiar with strep, there is one rash that can be very normal with strep, and there's another rash that can be an indicator of scarlet fever. Terrifying stuff, right? He's fine. I'm pleased to report we made it through the night. We actually put a pack and play in our room Monday night. His fever broke Tuesday afternoon. We just kept him real close for that 24 hours until his fever broke. Lots of bath time, lots of Motrin, lots of snuggles. They're both on the mend. They're at my parents' house playing. They're helping my dad build a new compost bin. They're doing great. So the boys are great. The most recent saga was Monty. Many of you know we've had 3 cats, Moby, Monty, and Felicia. Monty is our tuxedo, domestic medium hair, and he has a lot of anxiety issues that developed after the kids were born. And we've been having a lot of urination issues, etc., etc. Well, one of the wonderful folks from our community here, Bev, when she found out about that, she said, I lost my kitty recently. I would like another kitty. And she is quite confident that she can provide a really calm, loving home for him. And I'm so excited. Because Monty's favorite thing in the whole wide world is my sewing machine. He loves to be right where he can feel it vibrating. And so he's going to get to be her new buddy, and so with her in Indiana. So Monty went on an airplane this morning. Praise the Lord, the temperature stayed cool enough that he was able to get into the air at 9 a.m. It has to be below 80 degrees for an animal to fly in both destination, or like in the takeoff and landing destination. So we were very nervous because it's already getting warm here at 9 a.m. in Hotlanta. And yesterday afternoon was a total disaster. If you've watched my Instagram stories, you know I was super angry at Delta yesterday for some communication issues and customer service issues. I don't know that I'm over it, but I'm moving past it because Monty is safely in Indiana. And I will hopefully be getting confirmation from Bev soon that she actually has him in her arms. He's going to be so loved. Anyway, so Monty's in Indiana, the boys are on the mend, and we're here. So let's quilt. What questions can I answer for you guys? Terry, you asked about using cheap fabric to practice. I usually use scraps. So here's a great example. On my quilt, this is the edge of the border, right? And then there's, you know, a good 4 inches over here that's batting and backing fabric. Some nice Kona on the back here. When I trim this quilt, I will save that. And I will use that as my practice sandwiches. I can either lay another strip of fabric on top, or I can just fold it in half. And then it's double batted, but you know, it works for practicing. It's a funky shape, but it's okay for practicing. So things that would maybe normally get thrown away, a little 4-inch strip of backing and batting, I use as my practice sandwiches. And I have like piles of them in the corner that I can pull out and fiddle with, right? So that's my answer on that. Oh, so many of you here today. Love, love, love. Okay, Lori, this is a great question and something we're going to talk about a lot as we continue on, but let me go ahead and touch on it. Lori wants to know about, like, she really struggles with knowing what motifs will work in a given space versus how densely it should be quilted to not take away from the cuddliness of the final product. One of y'all asked me a question about this on my blog as well in the comments. And there's a couple of things I do. So the question on the blog was slightly different in that she was asking, well, how do you know if it's going to work? Do you just try stuff on one quilt, and if it doesn't work, do it differently next time? Or like, how does that work? So one of the ways that I get ideas for what I want to quilt wear is I spend a lot of time on Instagram and Pinterest looking at what other quilters have done in different spaces, right? How did this, so if I'm looking at these shapes here, this is basically an Ohio star, or a sawtooth star, right? It just has little log cabins added in as a bonus. So when I'm looking for inspiration for quilting this, I'm gonna look at how have different quilters treated log cabins? How have they treated sawtooth stars? How have they treated half square triangles? How have they treated just negative space either within a design or outside. All this out here is negative space, right? So I spend a lot of time just seeing what other people do and taking a little idea from over here and a little idea from over there and kind of piecing things together into something new. So I start with that, right? Big picture ideas, taking in lots of images, because every quilter kind of has their go-to. And you'll notice this, if you spend a lot of time looking at free motion quilters, very quickly you will be able to say, oh, that's Angela Walters, that's Natalia Bonner, that's Redbird Quilting Company, that's, you know, that's Debbie Brown. You'll be able to start doing this thing, right, where you will know, because most quilters, especially long armers who spend a lot of time, you know, that's Sherilyn Mortensen, like all these things, they have a style, they have a hand. Just like an artist, when they are brushing paint onto a canvas or onto a piece of paper, their hand, their stroke is as unique as handwriting or a thumbprint, right? And quilters are this way too. And that's, you know, that's why it's so complicated to like forge a piece of artwork, because you're not just forging the composition or the colors, you have to forge the stroke, the quality of the stroke. The same thing happens in quilting, that everyone has a distinctive way that they like to do things. And if you spend a lot of time looking at all those other quilters, you can borrow a little bit here, you can borrow a little bit there. Austin Kleon has a marvelous book called Steal Like an Artist, and that's essentially what this is you're collaging the influence of many experts into your craft, right? So I spend a lot of time doing that. I study the greats in quilting to see what they're doing, to get ideas and inspiration. Then I have my handy dandy graph paper notebook. And this is literally the stuff that y'all saw on the blog this week. This was kind of a, hey Dory, and Dory has her own thumbprint in her quilting as well, since I'm naming off wonderful, fabulous quilters. This is, I literally showed you guys pictures from my journal almost, right? This is like my free motion quilting journal that I draw quilting plans in. And I have, let's see, here's one, for example, that I drew. I spent a lot of time drawing these out. Here's one that I drew. Let me get close so y'all can see. For this star design, that after I drew it, I went, yeah, no, that's not what I want to do. Now, you might look at that and go, that's awesome, I want to do that. And that's fantastic. If you want to do it, take a screenshot and have at it. But I draw things out and then I kind of go, how did this work? Did this work? Did this not work? And the way that I reworked that one is I did, oh, let me find it. This is a slightly different version where I still used like paisleys in that background because I didn't like how big the paisleys were in the other one, but I used smaller paisleys, right? And this one I put on the blog for you guys. So a lot of time drawing, the good thing is, especially this time of year, you can get a graph paper notebook for like 59 cents down at a big box store, right? So every year I buy a couple of these and I just kind of keep them hanging around because I spend a lot of time drawing. So a lot of time looking, a lot of time drawing. This is the same formula for really learning anything. For example, if you want to be a writer, what do? You read and you write, right? So if you want to be an artist, you look at pictures and you make pictures. If you want to be a quilter, you look at quilting and you practice quilting. Okay, so look, draw, quilt. Now let's get into that. Well, I'm going to select the quilting plan I'm going to do real quick while I'm in here. I personally am leaning towards, and this will be no surprise to you if you've been around here for a little bit, I'm really excited about this rock star level pattern, or quilting plan that I drew. Got all these feathers. So here's what I'm going to do. This is what I'm thinking. But Dory, I love that. Oh, I get to keep Dory company. That's so exciting. Oh, hey, Marianne. Yes, that's you. I'm sorry. Marianne, I was thinking your name was Marianne, but I was like, I don't want to say that and get it wrong. So I'm so glad you're here. Perfect. Let me scroll back up to the question I was answering. Okay. So what I'm going to do with the question of density, sometimes it's hard to tell when I'm drawing versus when I'm quilting how the density is going to work out, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this quilting plan and then I'm going to modify as I go along. So what I'm going to do today is I'll be starting with these walking foot lines because I know I want those. I'm really obsessed with how those look. And I'll take it step by step to make sure, okay, is this working in this space? And by the time I get to those feathers, I'll have a good idea of, do I really want to do feathers in here, or is that going to be too dense, right? Does it work on paper but maybe not on my quilt? So I'm going to modify as I go along. So draw out a plan. I'm going to modify as I go along. And then the other thing that I do to keep my quilting really, really squishy is I do all my quilting with Aurifil 100% cotton thread. Because here's the deal. When you have cotton fabric and a cotton batting, which this is actually an 80-20 from Hobbs, but it's so soft. I'm so impressed. Thank you, Hobbs. By the way, Hobbs sent me this batting. I really appreciate that. And it's my first black batting, so I'm really thrilled to see how that works. But then you add cotton thread, then just like your quilt fabric gets softer and snugglier with every wash through the machine, so does your thread. So it keeps your quilt really snuggly and drapey. So your quilting will add some weight to the quilt because you know you're straight up adding weight to it. But I find that even quite densely quilted quilts are still very soft and snuggly because cotton on cotton doesn't get a plasticky feeling. If you've got, I don't even have any poly thread over here to show you guys. I don't use poly thread, sorry. I have some monofilament, but that doesn't really prove my point. But poly thread at its core is plastic. And so if you do really dense quilting and you pile up even very thin plastic on very thin plastic and you do that a whole bunch, you run the risk of it feeling plasticky. Now technology is improving, there are really high quality threads out there, but it's just something I'm really sensitive to, and I just really like natural fibers too, and I know that cotton is going to stay soft and squishy as I work with it. So I can do really dense quilting and get lots of really yummy texture, but still keep the softness of my quilt. So did I answer y'all's questions reasonably well, y'all? You can feel free to ask follow-ups, by the way. Another thing you can do, and this will add more bulk to your quilt, but you could consider double batting. So do 2 cotton bats instead of just 1, and that's going to leave a lot of puff in there too. But it's going to be a hefty quilt. It's going to be a big boy right there. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to jump in and then I'm going to circle back to some of these questions. Otherwise, I will sit here and do a Q&A for an hour, and y'all won't get to see me shove this under my machine. And I want y'all to see me shove this under my machine, at least for a few minutes. Each week I will do some quilting. I will not quilt everything, okay? So if we're doing, especially by the time we get to these outer rounds, I'm not going to quilt that whole round here on camera. We'd be here all day, and it would probably break my back. But I'm going to do at least a partial demo for you guys. All right, I'm trying to get this where y'all can kind of see this star, because we're going to choose our threads next. That's going to be the next thing here. I'm literally taking you guys through this step by step with me because I want you to see what it's like. If you turned in Friday night, you got to see what it's like when I'm using a new thread for the first time. And sometimes it's great and sometimes it's a disaster. And Friday was a bit of a disaster, and it was me, not the thread. I'm still working on it. More details to come. Okay, so here's my star. And I've got all my threads under here. Now my go-to thread, let me see if I've got one in this box. Yep, here we go. I have one on the stand, but if I can avoid pulling it off. My go-to thread is Aurifil 2600. It's this nice light gray. Guys, hang on. I think Monty just arrived. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, my baby. He's not my baby anymore. He's her baby. Oh, he's sniffing. Okay, sorry. I just needed to be emotional for a second. Oh, hey, Grace. Grace is going to come keep my kiddos tomorrow. All right. Okay, so this is my go-to, Aurifil 2600. Now, the reason I may not use this thread, I'm seeing how much y'all can see here. Okay, you can see pretty well. Reason I may not use this thread is because of this navy. So let's see what other threads I have floating around here that might be a good fit. Are these the same? No. All right, I'm going to open this one up because it's a more full spool. And you want to keep that in mind if you're considering using an all-over thread. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going all over with this or not. Is you want to make sure you have enough of it floating around, okay? Oh, my trash can's way over here. All right, so here's a darker gray. Now, the hesitation here would be this white, but I can tell you already I'm not planning to quilt in that white. So the 2600 will be fine, but I'm planning on leaving that unquilted, which makes this gray a really great candidate to me. Let's see what blues I have, too. That's a really bright navy. Like I said, I'm gonna just take y'all through this plan. Let's see. Here's a really pretty navy, but what weight is that? It's a 28. That's probably thicker than I want to go. I'm gonna try to keep this to a 50 weight because the plans I'm looking at, maybe a 40 weight. I might go 40 weight. But I want to try to keep this to a fairly fine thread because I know that I'm looking at dense quilting plans. And that's another thing, the finer that thread, the more of it you can get in one spot before you start to notice the bulk of it, right? Which gray here? And this one is 6736. This one's 2600, 1158, and another 1158. So that's, oh, then I can, this one's redundant. Look at that, how handy. Okay, so I have 3 grays here and a blue. The blue's a bit bright, and the blue on this orange would really show up. So let's look at my quilting plan and see if I'm going to be quilting that orange. And it looks like I am, because I'm planning on doing ribbon candies in the 2 oranges. The aquas will remain unquilted. I will have crisscrosses coming through this navy, and then feathers up in here. So another option here would be to use some sort of color exclusively for these oranges and then pick a gray for the rest of it. And that's my current inclination. I will have some quilting inside this middle one. I'm gonna do a feather flower in there. But let's see what oranges I have. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. That's a strong possibility for me right now, y'all. Now, I know I'm fire hosing information at you guys. That's why there's a whole class for this. That's too red. Because I know this might feel overwhelming, okay? So remember, you'll be able to watch this over and over again, 1. And 2, remember I've got my whole class on quilting plans relaunching because I know it's a lot. And some of it is just taking it a step at a time. If you're brand new to this, pick 1 thread color and go with it, okay? I don't mind changing thread colors, really. So I don't mind sitting here and pulling out 17 things to see what I really like. All right, so right now I'm trying to decide for this orange. Yep, I can already rule that out. And another option I could do is a monofilament across the whole thing. And I thought about that. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking I'm gonna do, guys. Laying out these options. Let me see what questions you guys are asking. Oh, Teresa, it really helps that I'm an Aurifil artisan. Aurifil spoils me, and we love each other very much. Lydia, you're here! Okay, Annie, yeah, that's exactly what I mean with overwhelmed with the options, which that's a great point. I'm going to comment on that in just a second. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Because I'm going to have stuff in this navy and this aqua, and I'm going to pick this thread. This is a blue-gray. So it's gonna bridge that gap really well. Okay, so there's what I'm gonna do there. And put these guys away. Ooh, I just broke my box. That's so embarrassing. Alright. Now, I'm going to, because I'm on a domestic, I'm gonna be breaking thread in between these boxes. So probably what I'll do when I'm doing these log cabins, can y'all see that? I hope you can see that. There we go. Can y'all see it now? Okay. I do have a treasure chest of Aurifil, it's very true. And yet sometimes I still don't have the color I want. Okay, so these log cabins, can y'all see? Dang it. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to get this to where y'all can see what I've got going on. And I don't know. That one you can't see. Can you see this one? Okay, you can see this one. So what I'll be doing when I quilt these is I'll do ribbon candies down 1. I will travel in the ditch for this 3/4 of an inch because it's a friggin' 3/4 of an inch, honestly, like to just be really blunt about that. And then I will do these ribbon candies, but then I will break thread to go over to the next one. I'm not gonna travel across this 4-inch block or travel in the ditch. I'm just not that good at stitching in the ditch. So I'd rather bury the thread than stress out about stitching in the ditch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a separate thread color for that guy, because I don't like how this gray is going to dull my orange. One of the things I love about this quilt is that the orange kind of punches you in the face, and I want to make sure I preserve that. So for this section, I'm going to use this coppery color, which this is Aurifil 2390, and this is actually a 40 weight, because that's what I have. I'm going to use this coppery color in that orange. The neat thing about a medallion quilt, and this is unique from other quilts, and because I'm working it on a domestic, is I'm gonna make my thread decisions 1 round at a time, right? So And I have the luxury of doing that because I'm already introducing the idea of multiple thread colors in this center area, right? So I'm using 2 thread colors here, so if I use a bunch of different threads as I work my way out, it's not going to be super weird. Now the hard thing I have to decide is what do I want to do for my bobbin thread, and that is probably going to be, what grays do I have? I'm probably going to use this gray for my bobbin. Looking across these, now as I'm discovering with Lanterns of Hope, sometimes the key to having all kinds of tension problems is if I'm trying to be super consistent in my bobbin thread. So I will test out my tension, and if my tension is already feeling a little bit finicky, I may end up changing bobbin color too, and just match it, because it may just not be worth the trouble. Okay, so I've decided on a quilting plan in progress. When y'all were in, I don't know if y'all's teachers did this, when I was in middle school and we were learning how to write academic essays, we always had a working thesis. And what that meant is we knew where we kind of wanted a paper to go, right? And so we had our working thesis. I believe that Chauvelin in The Scarlet Pimpernel is an arrogant butthead because he did this, this, and this. Now, of course, that's not academic language, but you know what I mean, right? So we had this working 3-point thesis, because we're in 8th grade. It was a simple thesis. And then you go write a paragraph, you know, in your 5-paragraph essay. That's the end of your introductory paragraph. And then you have a paragraph about why he was a butthead reason number 1, why he was a butthead reason number 2, and why he was a butthead reason number 3, right? And then you reverse that thesis, and then you carry on. But it's a working thesis. So what that means is if you get to paragraph number 2 and you realize the example that you chose, because he made some passive-aggressive comment, just like, you know, it's been a long time since I read The Scarlet Pimpernel, so I'm just pulling this out of my, you know, the back of my head here. And you get to there and you realize, oh shoot, I can't write a whole paragraph about that example. I need to go find myself another example. Well, that working thesis gets edited. You know, you backspace and you type in, well, actually he was a butthead because of this, right? So this quilting plan is my working quilting plan. I'm going to start with this, and if I get part of the way through it and something's not working, I will change it, okay? There's a reason it's written in pencil. So keep that in mind, drawn in pencil. All right, let me see. I'm all over the place. Hang on, guys. Judy, what did you say? You get overwhelmed. Okay, so here's what I wanted to say about feeling overwhelmed. If you go to the blog today, you will see that I have 3 different levels of quilting plans available. Now, y'all don't have to follow my quilting plans. If you didn't make this quilt, of course you're not following my quilting plans. But what those levels do is they limit your options. So the intro level, which I'll thumb back and show you guys one. This was the intro level quilting plan for this star, right? Now, why this is intro level is it only uses the 4 motifs I teach in Intro to Free Motion Quilting: meander, loopy meander, switchbacks, and swirls, plus walking foot lines. So there's only 5 motifs to choose from. So if you're brand new to free motion quilting and you feel overwhelmed, it's a free class. Take Intro to Free Motion Quilting and quilt a couple quilts using only those 4 motifs. There's all kinds of ways you can change the scale on those motifs. You can mix them up together. You can use them in different shapes to create really gorgeous custom quilting with just 4 motifs plus walking foot lines, right? So that's not even all free motion. You've got walking foot lines in there. And so that limits your kind of sense of overwhelm. And you can kind of step back from Pinterest a bit, because yeah, Pinterest is like, but I need to know 37 different kinds of feathers, and I don't know even one. You know, so limit yourself in your motif choices. When you get confident doing a couple of quilts, making some quilting plans with just those motifs, then you might want to look into the moderate level. This was the moderate level quilting plan here. Dun, da, da, da. Now, the moderate level quilting plans that I'll be doing throughout this series include the 10 motifs from Beginner Free Motion Quilting. So this is one of my paid classes. It's the next step after Intro to Free Motion Quilting. And it's meander, loopy meander, swirls, switchbacks, wood grain, square spirals, smoky swirls, pebbles, ribbon candy. Oh shoot, I'm gonna forget. And paisleys. and walking foot lines. So, you know, you're adding 6 more motifs to your option bucket, to your toolbox, plus the walking foot lines. So, and then the rock star status or the rock star levels, all bets are off. That's kind of, you know, off we go. And that follows the way that I take my students through my classes. I ask you to take Intro to Free Motion Quilting first. Just step into the water, learn 4 motifs with me. Then beginner, let's add 6 more to your toolbox. And really, with those 10 motifs and walking foot lines, you could quilt every quilt you make for the rest of your life, and it could be stunningly beautiful. You really could just never add another motif and be totally fine, right? But then if you feel really confident with that and you've really gotten bit by the free motion quilting bug, then you can add Rockstar Status, which is my graduate level class. We have a graduate level as in I do a graduation for it, not as in like academic level. We do a graduation for it. You get a pin that says you're a rock star. Like, that's a really big deal to be quilting at that level, right? But each of these is an important milestone, and you can reduce that overwhelm by limiting the number of motifs you're willing to work with on a quilt. Oh yeah, Annie, I totally get you. Cases of what can be purchased, Anne? Oh, the cases, yes. And I also, Lydia and one of my rock stars, remind me after this, I can put a link to getting the boxes for thread. I can put a link in the Quilting Rockstars group. I'll put an affiliate link in there for you guys. So, yeah. Remind me, I'll get those. Okay, with that, if you're working at that intro level or that beginner level, like, pick one thread for your quilt and go to town, right? Like, you don't... I'm going crazy because I have the luxury of going crazy, right? I have the luxury of boxes, like, I have the luxury of thread choices. But you don't have to have the luxury of thread choices to have a gorgeous quilt. I'm just showing off for you guys. And by that I mean showing off what Aurifil has to offer because I'm crazy about their threads, right? Yes, picking out is indeed, which, Bryce, many of y'all know this story. I was negligent about checking my tension one day and went to a live event where I was demoing free motion quilting. I'm happily quilting away for several hours. I got home that night and realized that I had neglected to check my tension. And really over the course of that several hours, I spent about an hour quilting. And it took me 4 hours to unpick what it took me about an hour to quilt. It was a very painful lesson. And that's why I am so stubborn about making you guys check your tension every time without fail. Because it's so painful to unpick. Aw, thanks, Annie. I love my Aurifil. My people. Alright. Oh. Taking the other thread off the spool holder would be helpful. I'm going to wind a bobbin, and then we're going to work on checking some tension. I'm going to be doing those walking foot lines first, and I'm going to try out my Hera marker for the first time. Y'all have probably been seeing them. They're all over the internet right now. Everyone is crazy about the Hera markers, and we're going to give it a shot together to see how it works. And it'll be interesting to see how it works since I'm going to be working up on this table to do the lines. Alright, I'm checking y'all's questions while this is winding. Yes, remind me to post. Monty, you think he'll be your son's cat? Oh, Bev, tell me about that. Monty's arrived. It makes me so happy. I hope he's being sweet. I totally found, like, kitty throw up after he left this morning. Little stinker. Hang on, something funky's happening. Okay, we're good. Yeah, so let me know. It's interesting that he likes your son. I have a theory on that. Gina, great question. So, Scout was breaking... Clearly, I'm going too fast. Let me just ease up. Scout was breaking thread, I think because I was trying to use too heavy of a thread in the bobbin. I think using the 12 top and bottom was too crazy. And as we discovered, the 50 was too light, so it's on my list for this afternoon. to be experimenting with like a 30 weight thread in the bottom and see how she does. If she's still breaking thread, I'll go get some top stitch needles because that's a really thick thread I'm trying to quilt with. I'm being all kinds of crazy. Yeah. Oh, and Dory, since you're on here, if you have any tips for free motion quilting with super thick thread, like a 12 weight, feel free to weigh in. I'm experimenting with different weights of thread on my Lanterns of Hope quilt. All right, here we go. Bada boom, bada boom. Okay, so Bev, my theory about why Monty might like your son is because he was originally supposed to be John's cat. But John's not really a cat person. But at the time, we just had Moby, and then we got Monty. And Moby is very, very bonded with me. Very bonded with me. And so I had told John that Monty had to be his cat. So this needle, today I'll be working with either an 11 or 14. For 50 weight, my friend Andy, the sewing doc, loves to recommend an 80-12. I don't have any 80-12s around. The brand that I typically buy doesn't make them, which is super annoying. So I'm going to start out with an 11, which I actually need to check to see what needle size I have in here at the moment, because I think it's a big one. And then I will go up to a 14 if I'm having issues. Sometimes I'll have issues because there's a lot of seams in a quilt and need to be working with something heavier. Let's see what I got. Okay, I have an 11 in here, so I am good to go. And I need to put my walking foot on. For those of you who are brand new here at String and Story, this machine, it's an Eversewn Sparrow 30, which there are links to them on Amazon on this week's blog. It's brand new to me. I just got it about a week ago, a little over a week ago now. So far, I'm totally in love. So this is actually my first time using my walking foot on Scout. So her name is Scout. She's pink, which she and I both have mixed emotions about. And I will be writing a review at some point of the Sparrow machines. I just haven't gotten there yet. I haven't done enough work on her yet to feel like I can really do a proper review. So Julie, I had a 30 weight thread in the bottom the other night, and that was too heavy. That's just too thick to be trying to pull up into the bobbin, and the tension, or from the bobbin, the tension just was not getting where it needed to be. But a 50 was too thin. It didn't have enough oomph against that 12 weight. Or excuse me, I had a 12 weight in the bobbin, and didn't have enough. The 50 weight didn't have enough oomph against that 12 weight on top. So I'm gonna try 30 weight in the bottom. All right, get my bobbin thread up. Do 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 do. Let's get out this hair marker, guys, and give her a whirl. Well, hopefully I know where I stuck her. Here she is. All right, and I need a ruler. Just taking y'all all through the back end on this. Let's try, let me get a different ruler. And the reason I'm really taking y'all through step by step on this is I know it can feel overwhelming. And the best remedy I have for that, well, I was gonna use my 2x6 inch ruler, but I'm not sure where I stuck it. Oh, and I've got this too. And we'll try here. The best way I know to help with that sense of overwhelm is just to show what's possible, right? And my charging cable's acting up again. Y'all are probably used to that by now. All right, questions, questions, questions. Biggest roadblock is not sure where to start. Okay, yes. Oh, Debbie, I'm so glad you started intro. And sometimes just jumping in is the best thing to do. Now, this was another question that came up on Facebook yesterday. I'm working on my domestic, so I'm gonna work from the inside out. And the reason I do that is because this has a lot of seams, and if there's any ease in those seams, I want them to get pushed to the edge of the quilt, because there are ways that I can handle that in a border, that if I end up with a little extra fabric out here, I can use certain types of stitches to help kind of absorb that ease, right? And that's easier to do out in the border. Plus, if I really am going to end up with creases, I can push them all the way to the edge where they're going to get hidden in the binding. Obviously, ideally, we don't want any creases or anything like that, but we want to move them to where we can deal with them best, and I can deal with them best out here. So if I started out here on my quilt and worked across, I might end up with funky stuff right in the middle of my quilt, and I don't want that. So work from the middle out. If you're doing this on a long arm, this was something I was getting a lot of questions about yesterday. There are kind of two ways that I know that I might do that on my long arm. Three, if you want to be super unconventional, which I don't really recommend. Just because I've done it doesn't mean I recommend it. The first thing you could do is you could baste this quilt on your long arm, either doing stitch in the ditch or doing some big basting stitches such that you could roll it forward and start in the middle and work out. That can be a real pain. Stitching in the ditch is just like nobody's favorite thing. So if you don't want to do that, your other option would be you can be watching and tuning in and working along, hey Laurel, with us right now, but you're going to want to start quilting your quilt at the top and work towards the middle. So even though I'm right here right now, those of you who are on a long arm might be starting out at that outside edge. And that might mean that you wait to quilt until you see those quilting plans. It might be that you make up your own quilting plans, that you kind of take what we're talking about each week and you go, oh, well, I can go draw my own quilting plan and work my way in, right? So then you would start at the top and kind of work your way down a quilt in the usual way. And so what I would do with that for a medallion quilt is I would quilt in rows. I would do passes back and forth all the way to that center area. And then I would work these side sections in long, y'all will only kind of be able to see this, but I would work them in long columns. So you'd have to do some rolling back and forth, but I would work them continuously kind of as a border, because it's just such a pain to do like one block of something and then have to come back in. If your brain works that way, that's fine. But I would work the top part in rows all the way in, then do the center, and then roll back and forth to do the columns, and then work the bottom back out. So hopefully that makes sense. If you want to be super weirdo unconventional, and I've done this, but again, that doesn't mean I recommend it, you could homemade spray baste your quilt together and load it basted onto the long arm and just roll to the center. I've totally done that on quilts. Just because I've done it doesn't mean I recommend it, but if you're willing to be super unconventional, that is an option. Okay. Here we go. Let me have my quilting plan handy because I'm adding these crisscrossed lines. And it's one thing to do it on graph paper. I need a bigger ruler, I can tell already. Oh, here we go. This was the one I was looking for earlier. It's one thing to draw it on graph paper. It's another thing to draw it in real life, right? So this line is going to come, I'm actually going to do it. Yeah, all right, so corner to corner here, take my hair marker and make a crease. And then I'm gonna scoot over a smudge. I'm gonna make a crease. How many am I supposed to be making? According to this, I'm gonna do 4, which means I don't want that one. I want to scoot over a little more. Okay, so one corner to corner, scoot over like a ½ an inch. Yeah, I can use these log cabin lines as my guides. Okay. And then I'm going to go back the other way. Crease. Now what this hair marker is doing, this is my first time using one, so y'all are really getting in on the ground level here, is it's creasing this fabric, but it's kind of making it shiny, so I can see where I've marked, right? And you can see that there's now a nice grid there. I'm going to make these two a little more. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to quilt corner to corner here, and then I'm going to go up and do the short one. Stitch in the ditch down, stitch in the ditch up, stitch in the ditch down, across, retrace, nope, stitch in the ditch down this way. So I'm going to work my way kind of back and forth so I can do all this without breaking thread. Now, it's nice and easy to say that out loud. Practice is always another thing. But worst case scenario, you break thread and you move back to a ditch and you start over. Now, I'm going to check my tension. I know this is a walking foot. I know it's not free motion. But I am just not going to play around with my tension. We're going to do it properly and hopefully not have any issues as a result. I'm gonna just start with the preset and see how it looks. Now, if y'all are like me, oh, that is so beautiful. All right, what I am gonna do though is I'm gonna shorten my stitch length a little bit, and I'm gonna try again. The tension looks marvelous, which is great. If y'all are like me, I need to remind you that this is a walking foot, not a running foot, okay? So our temptation is to do this. That's not what this foot's made for, okay? I'm gonna take it into nice little stroller on the block, right? Right about here. I'm actually gonna take that stitch length down even one more notch. I'm just wanting really clear poppy stitches. I'm not wanting them too stretched out. Oh yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm gonna try to show you guys this. I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but I'll come around and hold it up just in case it's visible. I'll show you the back side because that's gonna be a little easier to see, okay? Maybe. There you go. Okay, so here's where I started. The tension looks great on all of these, but I'm loving this shorter stitch length. It just is it's a little punchy. Okay, so we're gonna go with that for today. So we've tested our tension, we've marked the first block. I'm going to mark these blocks one at a time. I'm looking to make sure I haven't missed any critical questions here. Knowing where to start. And Debbie raises a great question. You know, she and maybe many of you as well, just knowing where to start can be so difficult. That's why Intro to Free Motion Quilting is available. That's why it's available for free. Because I know sometimes you just need to try it out and see if you're going to like it, right? The other thing is that's why the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group exists. One of my favorite things is when y'all post a picture of a quilt top and you say, here's what I'm thinking about and how I'm going to quilt this. Does anyone have any suggestions, right? And as a community, we can kind of toss out some ideas. And you may go, none of you crazy people know what you're talking about. I'm going with my idea. And that's fine, because it's your quilt. You get to do whatever you want on your quilt. But you may go, ooh, I really like that. I'm going to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this other thing and mush it all together to make a new quilting plan, right? So that's part of why Quilting Rockstars is such a valuable part of your quilting journey. And if you're in any of my classes, you know that just about every lesson is like, and go over to Quilting Rockstars and show us what you did, right? And I don't do that to be annoying. I know if you're not on Facebook, sometimes that can feel annoying. But for those of you that are here on Facebook, I really mean that. Jump into the group. Let us cheer for you. Let us give you feedback and ideas. Let us answer questions. And it's not just me in there giving ideas and suggestions. The Quilting Rockstars graduates who have taken Rockstar status are in there, and all of you, and you all have wonderful ideas to add to each other's quilts, and that's why community is so exciting, right? Okay, Dory said something. 40 weight, 50 weight, or 60 weight. Oh, you use a 16. Yeah, on the long arm, I almost always use a 16. Perfect. I want to try the 28, but we'll need a larger needle. Yes. This quilt, Julie. This is a 78-inch square quilt. This is a 5 3/4 inch throat space. Bring it on. Okay, we're gonna do it. So to get a big old monster like this under your throat space, you find an edge and you play limbo. Dee 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 dee. How low can you go? How low can you go? And if you have a tablecloth on your quilt, it's going to go all over the place, and we're going to just hope the scrap bin doesn't end up on the floor. How low can you go? And you just push and shove. You move the bulk around. You grunt and grumble when it feels tight. You accidentally drop your presser foot before you're ready. Don't quilt over that. That's a ruler. If you can't see it, it's clear. So for those of you who did the Motivate Shop quilt along, you're going, 78 inches? My quilt is only like 72 inches. I changed the widths of a couple of the borders on this outside edge, and I added a navy border before I did my 2 outer borders. So I left base camp a bit and did my own thing. Now I have to pay attention to which one I marked. All right, I'm going to start in a corner. And I'm going to make sure that there's no wrinkles in this, because the last thing I need to do is quilt through multiple layers at the same time, right? Fluff and stuff. That's right. Camp Ode May. I had fun at camp this summer, you guys. I don't know about you. I've had like a complete ball. All right. Push and shove. If you're in Quilting Rockstars, I've already made this joke, but if you're familiar with Brian Regan, he does a bit about people being impatient to get on airplanes, and he talks about the flight attendant will be like, everyone please calmly go to the gate and wait for your section to be called, and he's like, and somehow by the time that comes out the microphone it sounds like, push and shove, little piggies, push and shove, everybody please smush your fat butts through the doorway to the airplane immediately. And that's basically what I think about every time I get started. I'm like, push and shove. My big old fat quilt needs to fit under my throat space. So, as you can see, I'm down right at the center of this monstrous quilt, and I just kind of roll and stuff one side and the other side kind of goes over there. Now, if you are brand new to this, I highly recommend having a table behind you. And if you're right-handed, which means that the open part of your machine is on your left side, that you have some table-y, drapey space over there. It might just be a chair. I've like shoved a chair over there and just had the back of the chair to drape a quilt over, but you want the weight of the quilt not pulling on your needle, right? And as much as possible, I try to make my quilts flow uphill, so I want whatever weight has to start in my lap, I want it moving away from me whenever possible, okay? So let's do this first little bit here. Now I marked this, and it's also a fairly small little square, so I can kind of eyeball this as I'm going. And the hardest thing is going to be dealing with that bulk that's hanging out under my throat space to not get any puckers. And we're just going to take it nice and slow. Now you notice there, did you notice I'm sitting like this? I don't want to do that. So I'm going to shake my shoulders back a bit. And I'm going to sit up a little straighter, because otherwise I'm going to end up really sore tomorrow. Okay. I'm trying to take this weight up so that the quilt can flow freely under my machine as much as possible. Now, I'm starting with the walking foot lines because dealing with free motioning at the center of this giant quilt is going to be hard. I'm just going to be honest about that. It's going to be a challenge. It will be less of a challenge if I know that the block is well anchored, not only with homemade spray based, which I love. If you go to my blog, if you're on mobile, it'll be at the bottom. If you're on your computer, it'll be on the sidebar. Under featured blog posts, you'll see the homemade spray based post. And then I also put a few pins in this just because it is a monster of a quilt. All right, so I did my first line, my first diagonal line. It's looking beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now here's the real, this is the real kicker, guys. Well, I need to try not to shove my machine all over the place. Let me raise my presser foot up. Oop, where's my lever? My lever got eaten by my quilt. There we go. This whole thing has to pivot now. And this is the time-consuming part of this, right? Because you have to push and shove a big old quilt through your little machine. And you don't want to tug on your needle too much. So just be patient, have a TV show going, take your time on it, right? All right. And it's also reason to not spend too much time with how you arrange that quilt, get it workable. But you don't need to do any kind of fancy rolling over here because you're just going to be unrolling it every couple of minutes, right? So I'm going to hold the weight. This is like holding the wedding dress so the bride can go pee, right? That's what I'm doing right now. Just have my arm up underneath it. And that's already time to rotate again. So I'm going to continue. Move the edge first and the bulk will follow. I'm gonna continue pivoting, lift that foot up. And I've lined my needle up. I know y'all can't see this. I'll post pictures of the finished quilting later, but I'm lining up my needle with the next line that I've marked. So I went across on the diagonal, down in the ditch, and I'm working my way back, okay? Take the time. Yes, if with a quilt a little bit smaller than this one, Teresa, I'll do a little bit of rolling. But this one is it's just so big. It's just so big. This is a double quilt. It's going on the double bed in my guest room when it's all done. All right, scoop it up so the bride can pee. And I'm holding the weight up above the quilt so that the section underneath my needle has a little bit of slack in it so it can move with the feed dogs, right? That enables the feed dogs to do the work and not me. So my work is holding the quilt and not pushing the quilt. The feed dogs are moving the section that's under the needle, not me. I'm just guiding. I'm making sure my line stays straight. All right. The posture issue. Oh, Denise, I have a wonderful solution to that. If you tune in on Thursdays and Fridays for the next few weeks as we are quilting, I talk about posture like it's my job. It kind of is my job. It's part of my job. And I will help you because I'm constantly adjusting my posture, checking it. I'm making a mess of my thread. I wonder what happens if I put it way over there. We're gonna try it. And I will talk you through that on the regular. Speaking of which, tomorrow night, my dear Quilting Rockstars, which is all of you who are members of the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group, which I hope is all of you. If you have not joined, please join. I will be live tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern to quilt Paisleys on Lanterns of Hope. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze, hang tight. Oh, maybe not. And I will report back on what I discover about using the 12-weight thread. And if I had to go get a different needle or what bobbin thread, or if I just finally was like, the tension's not gonna work, okay? So I'll report back on that tomorrow night. So 8:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow in the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group, we'll be quilting Lanterns of Hope, which this is a very traditional quilt. Lanterns of Hope, that really did just happen on live camera. Lanterns of Hope is a more modern traditional quilt. It's a deconstructed log cabin, but it's very big. This is the downside of... Here, I'm going to put this on a pin for right now. I was wondering if that would be an issue. I've been enjoying using the stand to even out some of my tension. Now I got to think of where I stuck my spool pen. Well, I know I put it over here. But I was wondering if it would be an issue with the quilt. And the answer is yes, in fact it is. So here we go. Boop. All right, so I have quilted in the ditch, and I'm now pivoting again. These lines are getting shorter. I'm going across the block, in the ditch, back up. Across, ditch, down. And I'm gonna work my way back and forth for this crisscross, and then I will be breaking and burying thread at the end of this block. With this quilt, I'm just gonna break thread when I feel the need to break thread. If I end in a corner where it's not very far to travel in the ditch to the next block, I might travel in the ditch to the next block. But especially when you're getting started, I love efficiency. I do a lot of teaching on efficiency in your free motion quilting and in your quilting plans. That's a huge emphasis in how to make a quilting plan, the class. But sometimes it's easier to break thread than to run the risk of losing where you're at, you know? All right. You'll miss it. Oh yeah, there'll always be a replay, guys. These videos here on Thursdays are archived both here on the page and on the corresponding blog post. So if you're really enjoying this and you know you're going to want to rewatch later, or if you only catch part of it, then you can go to the blog for this week. There's a link in the caption of this video. And if you bookmark that, when I'm done being live here, I embed this video in my blog post. So you can always find the video later just by going to my blog, and it's right there that you can click watch, or you can click open in Facebook, depending on what you need. If you're watching this on my blog and you're like, what is this question of the week thing? Open it in Facebook and you'll see it in the caption. So you have to answer here on Facebook for those. I don't take into account the comments on my blog. I'm talking about Facebook comments for entering to win each week. So anyway, you can save the blog post in order to find the video later. If it's within the same week, so if you're going to finish watching this later today or sometime tomorrow, I also pin these videos at the top of my Facebook page for 1 week. Now, in the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group, it's a little bit trickier because you're just going to have to go to the videos tab and look at what's most recent. Those are not archived on a blog post because they're private to the group. So you may notice very quickly that, you know, I'm somewhat goofy here on video. I can get real goofy on Friday nights. We just have a good time. It's very laid back. It's a very social kind of interaction. But those videos are private to the group. So that's why you want to join the group, because then you can quilt with me here on Thursdays and you can quilt with me on Friday night. You know, my idea of a crazy Friday night is hanging out with you guys. So, works for me, you know. We have fun together, right, y'all? All right. I'm checking the time. I don't want to keep you guys here forever. I know I've already been going for a little bit. So I might be working on this some more later. And then posting pictures for you, but I'm going to just keep talking you through for another minute. If you have more questions about quilting plans, you can keep them coming. I'll try to keep an eye on the comments of this video this week. All right. I got to keep going this way. But I also, you know, we'll be back here next week, and you can ask questions in the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group. You can ask questions tomorrow night. All the questions are welcome. I love answering questions for you guys. Friday nights are a blast. Oh yeah, speaking of Team Purple, those of you who have been in Quilting Rockstars for a few weeks, we did trivia night a few weeks ago. The rest of Team Purple who have not received their vinyl stickers yet, the vinyl stickers arrived to me yesterday. I had to order more because apparently I can't count and didn't count to make sure I had enough ahead of time. So they've arrived here. They'll be going out to you by this weekend. So they're coming, Team Purple. They are coming. All right, so I've done half of this crisscross. I'm going to do the other half of this crisscross, and then I will break thread so I can hold it up and show you guys. And then the rest I might do without breaking thread. But I'm going to break thread after this one because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing here, how I'm executing this. It's just a lot of back and forth. If you're brand new to free motion quilting, even if you pieced this quilt, you might consider doing, you know, like a baby quilt or a throw quilt before you jump right into this guy. This guy is a big one. But as you can see, it's very possible. And the other really cool thing about working from the inside out on a domestic machine is it gets easier the further out you get, right? This whole deal is a lot harder at the center. You kind of get that over with ahead of time. It's like when we were piecing the Lanterns of Hope blocks. We did the blocks at the end of the quilt first because they took the most piecing. All right, get some water. Janet, you just woke up? You lucky duck. Which probably means you were still awake when I woke up at 4 this morning, for the record. Like 4 my time. So that would have been, what, midnight your time? That's hilarious. Yay, you got yours, Bryce. Yay, yay, yay. You have absolutely no idea where to start. Thank you for the tip. Oh, you're so welcome, Lori. And Lori, if you haven't already, make sure that you join over in the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group, because we are always there to help you out and help you figure out where you want to get started. That's what it's for. I love being as accessible as humanly possible for y'all to answer questions. I'm shoving so hard, I'm shoving my machine, guys. I don't recommend that. But I need to work back. I need to work back the other way, so I gotta do a 180 with this quilt. Here we go. We keep it very real around here. The pushing and shoving is very real. Okay, I gotta look and see where I'm headed because I'm losing track of myself. Okay, I'm going up this corner. I'm like, wait, which direction am I turning this? See, it happens to all of us. The whole, I'm not entirely sure where I am. Okay. Now this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shove this corner through ahead because it's going to make this a little bit a lot easier. Okay. Hold up the wedding dress. I have ridiculous analogies. I'm aware of that, y'all. Stickers arrive. Spray based. Let me see what the URL is for you, Lynn. I will just drop it in the comments. That will be easier. Boom. All right, there it is. It's in the comments, guys. And there's a whole goofy live video of me in my kitchen making that spray based for you. You know, just in case you want to see me, you know, being ridiculous for another hour today. There we go. Y'all, this hair marker. Okay, so I mentioned at the top, this is my first time using a hair marker. I'm in love. This worked awesome. The lines are holding. I can still see them. And you'll notice I'm not wearing gloves right now. That's because I'm using my walking foot. When I free motion, I usually use gloves. Not always when I'm on camera, because sometimes I need my hands free to do other things. Hang on, I saw another comment. Oh, here we go. How do I get back, y'all? Here we go. Analogies are great. I don't know where to start, so I decided it's time, and my latest idea is the one to use. Susan, that sounds like me! I just go, man. I just go. I highly recommend, by the way, if you're not, you know, watching a video or watching TV while you're quilting, I really love to watch or listen to really happy music. So if you subscribe to my newsletter, stringandstory.com/newsletter, I send out an update each week that includes the blog posts of the week and some, you know, kind of accompanying blog posts of things that are relevant, etc. I have no idea where that thread came from. But I also include some links to just kind of things that have caught my eye. And the last few weeks, I've included links to music videos of just some like happy little songs, because music is important, right? And how we think about things. This rotation is just insanity. And a song that I'm really, really into right now is Have It All by Jason Mraz. I love Jason Mraz anyway. But I love listening to just cheery things while I'm quilting. Because especially with free motion quilting, where it can feel overwhelming when you're just getting started. Having your music kind of pep talk you can be really, really helpful. All right, so I'm working my way down the second half of this grid. I've got a lump under here that I'm trying to smooth out. You don't want to quilt any lumps into our quilts. And that's what I love about the homemade spray based, is it keeps everything really smooth. I'm seeing. You like Jason Mraz too? Yes! So at the moment, Stephanie, I'm back a little bit because I don't want to hunch. If I'm right up against my table, first of all, I only have about 5 inches of lip, and so I don't want to hunch like this. So I'm back a little bit, and I have it kind of draped into my lap, but then I scoop. That's why I'm scooping an arm underneath, right, to hold that weight. Because if I'm right up against it, then my posture suffers. I can sit back a little bit and keep my back straighter, and that's going to enable me to quilt longer without pain, right? All right, back the other way. 2 more lines, guys. We're almost done with this. Pick, not lick. That's hilarious. Lucky in Love, the Lucky I'm in Love with My Best Friend. So I fell in love with that song shortly after I fell in love with my now husband. But I discovered that song while I was in Indonesia and he was in Tennessee for the summer. And it was really hard to be apart. For those couple of months, I was in Indonesia for 8 weeks? 6 weeks. I think I was there for 6 weeks. But I'd been in Cambodia for 2 weeks before that. Separate trip. I flew back to the US in between those trips. I don't recommend doing that. The flight from Atlanta to Seoul is brutal. It's a 15-hour direct flight. But however, Korean Air is delightful. But it was a long summer apart, and we had been dating about 6 months, but but I knew I was gonna marry him. Like, I knew, right? And, but I discovered Lucky that summer. And it was kind of my sanity that summer, to be perfectly honest with you. You saw him live, that's so cool. I've never seen him live. I've seen very few things live. I'm not a crowd person, so I have to really, really want to see somebody live if I'm gonna brave a bunch of people for it. I love people, I just don't love crowds. Like, I should make that distinction. Yeah, crowds are stressful. Too many options. Oh guys, I'm so excited about how this looks. And this is cool. This 50 weight thread is really blending in, so it's just gonna be a texture thing. And it's gonna be so pretty. This is delightful. All right, well, I'm hooked on the hair marker. I don't remember if I included a link to it in this week's blog post, but I will go back and check if I did not. Because if you do not have a hair marker and you're wanting to do some nice straight walking foot lines on your quilt, man, this is the solution. This is the solution we've all been waiting for. Last little pivot, and then I'm gonna break thread. Okay, so here's the super ironic thing, Christine, about the fact that I hate threads, or hate crowds, not hate threads, sorry, I was looking at my thread. I go to a church that has a weekly attendance of almost 10,000 people. And that doesn't bother me, because I've been there for so long, and so that's the only situation where I can be in a ginormous crowd. So each service is around like 3,500 people or so. And that doesn't bother me, but that's like the only situation where it doesn't bother me. And everywhere else it makes me bonkers. But it's just because I've been there forever, and so it feels like home. It just feels normal. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I've finished my quilting, but I'm gonna quilt in the ditch one last time, because if I go half an inch back in the ditch, I will be breaking thread and I'll be ending where I started, and that means I only have to bury threads once. Okay, and then we're gonna call it a day for here, guys, and I will finish this over the course of the week and post pictures. Okay, so I'm gonna break thread. Now, in order to not have to dig up underneath my quilt, I pulled my quilt away, pulled those threads out long, and then I push it back, and that creates slack underneath my quilt. And I can take my seam ripper and I can gently pull that bobbin thread through, and I can cut them on the top of the quilt, right? And then I'll take a second and show you guys how to bury this if you're not familiar with burying threads. Excuse me. All right. Dun, da, da, da. Let's see. I'm gonna come hold this up so hopefully y'all can see the texture. Now remember, it won't take you quite as long to do this because I talked y'all through a lot of things before we really got started here. But can y'all see that texture at all? I hope you can. In here, maybe. Maybe not, I'll take pictures later. But let me show you how to bury these threads. So I need a pair of scissors, and I like a needle with a nice big eye. I know many people like to use self-threading needles for burying threads. I have a lot of trouble getting them to stay in when I do that. Okay, so I've got my 4 threads here. They're all in the same place. Hold on, I saw questions. It doesn't have 10,000 all the time, and it's a really big building. Like, tens of thousands of square feet in the building, so it feels fine. Like, but I don't know that I could ever, like, I don't know that I could join Perimeter not knowing anybody, but I grew up there, so it feels normal. Like, I went to school there, I danced there, so anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna split this into 2 pairs of 2. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad that you can see this. Okay, yeah, Janet, it's so funny. I use it as a pressing mat and a computer mat, like kind of an equal measure. And it's really cool because I like to have my computer over here for videos, but I also have a cutting mat over there. And I don't want the cutting mat to get hot because then it'll warp or melt, right? But I want the computer to be able to breathe, and the wool mat is literally perfect. So I use it for both. Thank you so much. It gets a lot of use around here. Okay, so I don't really care if these two pairs of threads are like the same pairs, right? So I just like have two pairs, and I'm gonna double knot them together. I'm gonna bury all four together. So I'm just gonna do a granny knot right here in the corner. I'm gonna make sure that I tug it just enough that that knot settles right against the fabric. But I don't wanna break those threads, right? So now I have a pair of four. Now, I'm gonna lick my fingers. Sorry if this grosses you out. And I'm gonna just use that little bit of spittle as some thread conditioner, and it's gonna slick all four of those threads together. Move my needle minder over here. And I'm gonna trim them so they have even ends. Tina, no it's not. Is Perimeter Church, are you still there? Okay. No, it's not Charles Stanley Church. He's a little closer to downtown than us. Okay, so I've got all four even edges, big eye needle, and I'm just gonna shove all four ends together through that needle, and I'm gonna reach underneath the quilt, which I've got like way too many layers happening here. Let me find the right edge. Okay. Whoop, maybe. Jeez Louise. I've had cervical checks that were easier than this. Okay, here we go. And I'm gonna insert my needle, if I can not tangle it, right at that seam. And I'm basically running my needle under the seam line because there's a natural little tunnel there, right, from where those fabrics come together. I have my finger on the back. If I poke my finger, I've gone too far into the quilt, right? So I want to bury these guys like in the batting. And I'm going to go about a needle's length in, and then I'll poke it on out. Give it a good yank, pull those threads through. So the knot, with that good yank, the knot vanishes up into the seam and down into the batting. I've got little tails buried, and I can trim them off real gently right there. And now it's invisible. Dun, da, da, da. So we did our little block together today. I'll do the rest of this center medallion star over the next few days. I'll post pictures. If you have questions, feel free to continue dropping them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. We can also circle back next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about skinny borders. There's a lot of skinny borders on this quilt, and we're going to talk about different motifs you can do in those borders. But it'll also be a great opportunity if you want to circle back and have me answer more questions about doing the center medallion area or any of the motifs I do in it. We can talk about that some more next week as well. All right, let me make sure there's not any pressing questions. Great tips. Oh, thank you, Di. It is a win-win, Janet. And it's beautiful. This gray color is so beautiful. Let's see. This is in Singer. Limited seating. That's amazing. I love his, have you listened to Have It All by Jason Mraz? It's his new one. The music video is just darling, and he's just so effortless. Anyway. What size needle do you recommend for long arms? So Lori and I both typically work with a 16. If I'm using a thicker thread, or if I'm doing something like a t-shirt quilt, or something that has a ton of seams, like one of Bonnie Hunter's quilts, I'll go up to an 18, just to have a sturdier piece of metal in there, right? I typically start out with a 16. It's very rare that I go lower than that because I'll get thread breakage just because the machine's going so fast. Yeah, okay. Let's see, I'm seeing if there's anything else that I want to go ahead and jump on and answer real quick for you guys. Oh, Terry, I showed you how to bury threads. Perfect. I didn't actually see that you'd asked that, but I'm glad that you had. Yes, I could continue to see the lines. And they'll wash out perfectly, would be my guess. I can still see them a little bit, but once you quilt over them, they kind of blend in. I can't wait to take a picture of this texture. So, Hera marker, I'm a very good fan. This is the Hera Mini, because I wanted a skinny line, because these are small pieces. This is a very traditional quilt. Okay, so guys, I'm gonna depart in a moment, as I'm departing, if you enjoyed this today, will you please share this video? I just want as many quilters as possible to be joining in with us in this happy party of quilting each week. I love having all of you here. It's like inviting all of my favorite people into my sewing room with me. So thank you for joining me today. Please share this video. Make sure you hop over to the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group and join up if you have not already. And tell your friends about the group. All quilters are welcome inside the Quilting Rockstars group. The only thing I ask inside the group is that we keep it positive and kind and encouraging. If you're ugly, then you can't stay. And by ugly, I mean like ugly in how you treat other people. All I ask is that if you're part of the group, that you're encouraging and kind, and that we really treat it as a community, as a happy place for all of us. There's enough rudeness out there in the world. That's not going to happen around here at String and Story. We're here to have a party. We're here to quilt. We're here to have a good time, to share and learn and grow and do life together. That's why I share about my kids and my cats. Y'all are wonderful. There are links to everything that you might need. Links to the blog post, which there's all kinds of links heading out of that. There's links to my classes to go ahead and get you into Intro to Free Motion Quilting, or if you're ready to purchase Beginner Free Motion Quilting. And if you're excited about, if you've worked through Intro a little bit, or you've dabbled with meandering on your own, go ahead and jump into Intro and Beginner and just work your way through. And you're going to be quilting just gorgeous stuff before you know it. I'm so excited to have you with me. I'll see you inside the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be working on the Lanterns of Hope quilt, which is a more modern quilt, and we're working our way systematically through the motifs in beginner free motion quilting on that quilt. So we've already done square spirals. Last week we did ribbon candy, and tomorrow we're tackling paisleys. I will be doing a video just like this tomorrow night, where I'm showing a wide angle and talking through my steps. If you want under the needle views, and I have under the needle videos for you, that's inside the Beginner Rockstars Facebook group. So inside the the Beginner Free Motion Quilting class. Those 10 motifs, there's videos of me drawing each motif and videos under my needle right up close with all the tips of how to shape each motif. So those videos are all available inside the Beginner Free Motion Quilting class, but for just a wide community general tip session, join me tomorrow night. We'll be hanging out, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, inside the Facebook group, okay? And I'll see you back here next week at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Thursday. And we'll continue working our way around this big old quilt. Have a great Thursday, y'all, and I'll talk to you soon.